Hey Espresso lovers, Marc here from WholeLatteLove.com. Today I'm going to show you how to remove the outer housing of a Profitec Pro 300. The tools you'll need a 2.5 and a 3 millimeter Allen wrench, maybe a cup to put your screws in, a couple towels if we need them to lay the machine on its side, and I'll show you a trick with a portafilter for making this a little bit easier. So to get started, you want the machine cold, you want the machine unplugged, and then we're going to remove the reservoir. Set that aside. And let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is remove 4 screws here on the top cover. If these haven't come off before, they're going to be a little tight. There's one. The 2 up front are longer screws. Put those in our cup there. Again, the 2 up front are the longer ones, and then 2 shorter ones in the back here. We'll do our best not to drop these into the machine. And with those off, we'll just take this cover off and set it aside. Okay, our next step is we have to get some screws out from under the machine. Now what I like to do is have the portafilter securely locked in place. I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to balance the machine on the portafilter. You can also just lay it on some towels if you prefer to do that, but I find this really easy, gives you good access. I'm going to turn this machine around and then just tilt it up gently so the portafilter supports it there, and that's going to give us access to the screws. Now there's 4 screws on this one. Some models may have some additional, so you may have 2 more, but we're just interested in the 2 here and the 2 here. So for the screws on the bottom, we're going to use our 3 millimeter Allen head and just remove these completely. There's one. 2. 3. And 4. And these ones have the washers on them. And then we're going to tilt the machine back up onto its feet. All right, so here we have 2 more screws that attach the outer housing to the front panel. So this is the front of the machine, this is the rear of the machine here. So there's 1 here and 1 here. These can be a little tough to get at. You got to kind of contort a little bit. So we can get those loosened up. You want to be as careful as you can not to scratch stuff inside of here. And these have to be completely removed. Again, the angle's a little difficult here. We'll try not to drop these into the machine. But not a big deal if you do. Okay, there's one. And on the other side right over here. And there we go, there's the second one. Set that aside. All right, so now the tricky part. There's some keyholes in the housing, the outer housing, that some bolts go through. There's one here and one over here. What I'm going to do is turn this machine around and lay it on the portafilter again so we can get a better look at that. All right, so we'll get a good look at these. Here is that little bolt that goes in through a keyhole slot on the housing. And there's one over here as well. If I can find that, there it is. Right in here. Then the other thing we have to be concerned with are these little clips here. These have to clear the case when you take it off. So you don't have to loosen these up at all. In fact, they'll just slide down. All right, so we'll tilt the machine back up. And from here, what we're going to do is press down on the case here. And that'll drop down, and you can line up these little keyholes. Now, they can be a little tricky. You just got to find the spot where it'll loosen up. and then kind of pull out some and release the little tab right here. You see that tab? And we'll go the other side. You want to be kind of careful you don't scratch things again. We'll get the other side out and then pull that tab out and hung up on the power cord. And our case is off. We'll set that aside. And let me give you a better look at how those keyhole things work there. All right, so here's a little bolt so that the keyhole is going to go over here. I'll show you the keyhole in a sec and slide down. Again, you don't loosen these up. There's one on each side. And then here's a little slot, a little keyhole where that fits into. So what you're going to do is press down on the case so that bolt raises up, and then you can pull it away. So getting it back together is kind of the reverse of how you took it apart. The tricky part is with those tabs and those keyholes. So we'll kind of separate the case a little bit, and we'll work on one side at a time. So first, we're going to get the tab lined up properly here on one side. You just got to kind of work with it. So that's in. Now I'm going to find that hole. Good. We got the one side over the keyhole. We'll get the other tab. This takes some working with it. Get that in place. There we go. Now what I've found best is to then tilt the machine up. Again, on that portafilter. You can lay it on the towels if you want. Get all your holes lined up here. Get some screws in here. Now I'm not going to show you all that, but get those lined up. Flip it back up. Get these two here. There's one here and one here. Put your top on, put the 4 screws back in the top, and that's pretty much it. The longer screws go in the front here. They'll be really apparent when you go to put it back together. But that's case removal on the Profitec Pro 300. Thanks for watching, guys. Want to learn more? Subscribe now so you'll know about the latest videos on everything coffee from Whole Latte Love.